get back to that breaking news we've been following all day. The Justice Department unsealing the new federal indictment against Donald Trump. It contains 37 counts and accuses Trump and a former aide of hoarding classified documents containing sensitive military secrets at his home in South Florida. And as we do every Friday night, we have the host of the WGN Political Report, Paul Lisnick, to talk about all things politics, but it's all about Donald Trump. Yeah, it's all about Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Okay, first of all, as you know, this is the first American president, past American president, ever to be indicted on federal charges. Most of the GOP pretty much still supporting him right now. Asa Hutchinson isn't, but most of them are, aren't they?
And Chris Christie isn't.
Yeah.
Those are the two.
But why? Why not?
Why aren't they?
Why are they still supporting him?
Because all of them do not want to risk losing the support of the Trump base. It really doesn't matter what President Trump is accused of doing or is alleged to do. There's somewhere between 35% of a base that is going nowhere, and it doesn't matter. Look, comments being made even today, Micah, as you listen out there, there were no documents. They were placed. It was a plant. What about Biden? What about Hunter? What about, so
just like the tourist on January 6th, right?
Yes, so it's the constant sort of focus instead of what I would encourage everybody to do, just read the 49-page indictment.
And they're pretty simple. I mean, it's easy for
It's like a novel.
Yeah.
You just read through, and what he's accused of doing is pretty stunning.
Jack Smith said he's going to seek a speedy trial here. That means 70 days, but this is going to be a long, drawn-out proceeding, right? And how does that work playing up to the election?
Well, Ray, if you'd asked me that question yesterday, I would have said, yes, it's going to be quick because Florida has what's known as a rocket docket, which means cases move very quickly there. So maybe not 70 days, but, certainly within, 3 to 6 months, he would want this over. He even said today in his very brief statement that he's going to push it through. However, we learned today that the judge assigned to this case is Judge Aileen Cannon. She was the judge who handled the last effort regarding Trump and the search and all of that.
Trump-appointed judge.
The Trump-appointed judge in 2019, and almost every decision she made got overturned by the very conservative 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. So she said, yes, you can have a special master, overturned. Yes, FBI, you're not allowed to look at those documents until the master is done, overturned. So it's one of two things. Either Cannon is, and I'm just going to be honest, incompetent when it comes to these issues, or because Trump appointed her, she may have a special affinity for him and will do everything she can to make decisions that go into his direction. So the answer to your question is, it looks like the government will push ahead for a speedy trial, but the speedy trial protection in the Constitution actually belongs to the defendant. And if Trump waives his right to a speedy trial, which I expect him to do, then watch for request to delay, and we'll have to see whether Judge Cannon goes with it.
He would want it to be drawn out.
He wants it drawn out until November of 2024, because
but
that's when things go
Special Counsel
away.
Jack Smith is like, let's get it over with so it won't be during the election time. Now, how did Cannon get this? Was it just random, just luck of the draw? I mean, and she can also delay this too.
That's exactly right.
And she can keep some evidence out as well, can't she?
She can rule the things can't come in. Of course, that means Jack Smith will appeal it, and that's where the delays come in. So in the system in Florida, it was meant to be a random appointment. Now, the fact that she was appointed and the other judge appointed to deal with this is the magistrate, Bruce Reinhart, who was also the magistrate in that previous case, it makes it look like maybe this was less random, which it is supposed to be, and assigned because these people, the chief judge may have seen this as a continuation of the same matter and therefore kept them on. But again, whether Jack Smith will go in and say, I want her out, I want her to recuse herself because of all these things, the truth is he wouldn't be successful in those efforts, just based on her rulings and such, but it's going to make for a very interesting. Now, maybe she learned something after getting overturned a few times, and maybe ultimately she decided I better shift my skills. I don't know.
Trump's two attorneys withdrew from the case. Why did they do that, and what does that do to his defense and as he prepares himself for an eventual trial?
So we don't know why they stepped out. I will say one thing is that when things go to trial, it is not unusual for a defendant to perhaps dismiss people that he or she was working with during the pre-trial phases of something, and now things are real and it's trial time, so Trump goes out, as many defendants would, and say, I want a trial team in here, there's time for certain people to come. It's like bringing Johnny Cochran in at that last moment where you want the very best. So it could be that. On the other hand, those departures of at least the current team members I think you're referring to, Ray, happened after the indictment got unsealed today.
Right.
So hard not to believe that those lawyers looked at the indictment and said, oh my goodness, look what's in here and look what we were a part of, and I'm out of here. Now, one of his lawyers, of course, who took himself out a while ago, Mr. Corcoran, he's one of the reasons this indictment could be as specific as it was, because he wanted to save his license.
Yeah.
So he sat down, he had recorded notes, he clearly gave it all to the feds, and that's why we see the kind of detail we see in the indictment. I encourage our viewers to read, because a lot of that came from Corcoran, who was doing what a ethical lawyers should do, which is, look, here's what happened, because otherwise he could have faced disbarment and ethical charges.
Even though he took the documents from D.C., it's going to be in Florida because that's where they were found. But it's interesting. It's in Florida. DeSantis is the governor. DeSantis is running against Trump.
And the jurors could be, supporters.
Well, so again, here's a couple
And it's a very blood red state, we should say.
No question about that. Jack Smith does not want to try the case in Florida, but he pretty much has to, because that, as you just said, Micah, that is where the bad stuff supposedly happened. So had he filed it in D.C. because there's better jurors for him, the Trump team would have absolutely moved, saying you filed it in the wrong venue. And the Supreme Court right now is dealing with the case. We'll get a ruling on that in the next couple of weeks, where it's expected that this court will say when a case is filed in the wrong jurisdiction, you cannot file it again. Jack Smith couldn't take that chance. He's going to have to try this. But here's the other thing. It also removes Trump's effort, if there was going to be one, to say you've been forum shopping and you brought to the wrong venue. Because actually Trump couldn't be in better shape for where the trial is going to be held and who the judge is. So if you're Donald Trump, you've had somebody look down and smile at you because you've got the framework is set up to be positive for him.
The opponents out there are saying, hey, this is a double standard. Biden is trying to hurt Trump. What do you say are the key differences between the Biden papers and the Trump documents?
So, and first of all, there's two points you're raising. The issue about, this is all a Biden setup and they're weaponizing the government. And I realize that our viewers who are Trump supporters and stuff, it doesn't matter what I say to this, it's not going to be received in the right way. But the bottom line is there is no connection between the Biden administration and this Department of Justice. There's people saying Merrick Garland, he's so mad that he didn't get on the Supreme Court that he was going after Trump. But Merrick Garland made it clear that he actually told Jack Smith, you're making the decision here. He did not sign off on this. Garland did not sign off on this, which ordinarily he would. He has stayed out of it. Biden has been clear. He stayed out of it. And I take them at their word that they're doing so. So, the bottom line is that's what keeps it clean. But what's the difference in the documents? Because Mike Pence, and they closed the investigation on him, and Joe Biden, there's no indication that they have done anything except, yes, I have this, and it's wrong, and I shouldn't. Come get them and take them away. That's what former President Trump has not done. In fact, as we know, making argument. Look, when you read the indictment today, he's putting the documents in the shower and moving them here and moving them there. And can't we just, he tells his lawyers, can't we just tell them that we don't have anything? That is very, very different conduct than what you saw from Biden and Pence. So you can try and make comparisons all day long to those two, but they are apples and oranges. And that's why Pence is scot-free right now. And that's why Biden likely will. It's not done yet for him. They're looking. But in the end, I think he gets a clearance too, because they basically said, it's a mistake. We shouldn't have them. Take them.
Yeah, let's not forget, he's still facing another possible indictment. 2 impeachment trials, sexual assault trials. He said, I can shoot people on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. Is he still Teflon Don? I guess we'll wait and see.
He is, and we'll watch. I bet his numbers go up as a result of this filing, too, as well.
Along with the fundraising.
Absolutely. That fundraising came out as soon as the indictment got announced.
What's going on
Hey, Sunday, we're going to take a look at the Trump case. No surprise, we're going to have attorney Gal Pazetsky, who's a criminal defense lawyer. He was a prosecutor. He's perfect to talk about this. Congressman Mike Quigley, also a lawyer, but he's going to give us the political perspective on all this. And Illinois State Republican Senate leader John Curran is going to talk about his view on the budget and why Republicans weren't happy about it. And then, as you know, I do some things on the midday news, Monday, 11:45. I'll be talking to Michael Waldman, the author of a new book called The Supermajority, How the Supreme Court Got as Conservative as It Is. Fascinating book. He's been appearing in a lot of places, and he'll join us and me on Monday.
You do some things on all the news. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, guys.